Hey, CvCISO Podcast listeners, welcome to episode 25 of the CvCISO Podcast. Joining me as normal, regular, I guess, Meg. Hi, Meg.
Hello, everybody.
And Jordan, my friend, how are you?
Buenos días, señor.
Buenos días. Bienvenidos a nuestro podcast. ¿Sí?
Sí.
Yeah, sí.
How you feeling, Evan? How are you feeling? Let's check in on you. That's mental health check-in. Can I do a mental health check-in on you?
Yeah, but I know, that's, what if
Live
you're too
on the air.
What if you're too crazy to know what your mental health check is? I mean, it's still here because I'm putting the words together into sentences. That's good.
Yeah. You're getting by.
Yeah. No, I'm good, man. It's, I love these Friday mornings because, you're bringing the plane in, it's looking forward to the weekend. And this, I think talking with your friends on a podcast is good for your mental health. So I'm in a pretty good spot. How about you?
Me, I'm doing good. It was a stressful week. Actually, it's been a stressful quarter as far as business is concerned, but it's okay, Family stuff is busy, and but I shared this at the chapter meeting. I'm down like 35 pounds since last December.
Congratulations, man.
So
That's awesome.
physically I'm healthier,
Yeah.
which helps also mentally sometimes. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. Those health systems, I always thought there are like three health systems. There's the physical, the mental, and the spiritual. And I think they all play off of each other. You see all the time where mental things manifest into physical things and vice versa. So I think the more, the better shape you're in. I mean, I'm not speaking from experience. I'm just going by what other people have said. The more in shape you are, it's easier to be happier. So that's cool.
Yeah, because you feel good.
Yeah. So you're closing out the quarter. Yeah. What month is it? September. Yeah. Okay. You're right. We are coming into fourth quarter. Fourth quarter, traditionally, has that been really, really busy for you?
For us, it is. It's a lot of people spending money, so they want to do projects and they want to do it. It's a lot of people's downtime, so maybe less busy for them. And so, yeah, we end up getting busy with projects.
Does the end of the quarter typically stress you out?
No.
Okay.
No. For us, the stress is we're shorthanded. We had a long-time person with us retired. She was a wonderful, she did a lot of stuff, and it's hard to replace that. And then we had to let someone go, and so people just picking up the slack of not having enough people is kind of puts people on edge. Bless you.
Thank you. You put myself on mute there, otherwise I would have blown your earballs out.
How about you, Meg? Let's check in with you. How are you doing?
Yeah. I've been in a rut, to be honest.
How so?
Rut. Yeah, rut. No? Okay. Yeah, ruts are frustrating. For sure. We have those moments where it's just like, and Meg, if you want to, feel free to, turn off your camera and take a minute. You don't have to, feel uncomfortable sitting there. It's all totally up to you. Well, that's it. And Jordan, I think it's good that you asked. Even if it's in this forum, right? Because for me anyway, unless you take care of an issue, it just gets worse.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of people that can relate to ruts, and to your point that you made a little bit earlier, it's like, but then people just kind of keep going. They put on the smile, they talk, and no one is the wiser that they're feeling stuck,
right,
in something.
Yeah, and I think I always speak from my own experience. Especially with mental health things, I don't know. I'll never know what it's like to be in somebody else's head. And so I think it's really easy. My wife does this, sometimes, she likes to tell me what I think. I don't know if you've ever had your wife do that.
Oh, yeah.
And she also likes to tell me how I feel. And I'm like, okay. It's funny that you know what I think when I don't know what I think. But
have you gotten to the point where you just ask her how you feel?
oh, I do. Yeah. But
How
I
do
think,
I feel about this?
yeah, honey, yeah, what should I do? And yeah, I told my daughter, like, if there's 3 things that will totally win over a man, totally, like, they will just feel so loved by you. It's when you tell them what they're thinking, tell them what they're feeling, and then tell them what to do.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
Yeah, I love it. That's what I wanted. That was part of the vows when I married Melissa. Is please tell me what to do and what to think.
But I think that's one of the things I catch myself doing sometimes, and I see other people do it, is like you try to psychoanalyze somebody else. Like you know what it's like to be in their head. You don't.
Okay.
And so I think what I can always do is I can share my head, I can share my perspective, and if it fits with what you're going through and it helps, well then great. If it doesn't, you try to just, listen, maybe. So welcome back, Meg. You still look wonderful today, just as wonderful as you did before you got on, or before last time, you were here, and then, whatever. It's like you're the same person. I mean, I don't even think you look like Meg still. That's good.
Yeah, she looks like Meg.
Yeah.
Are you Meg?
It would
Did
be
you hear
really
that airplane go across?
Yeah. Those
Very
fighter
well.
jets.
I don't know, but it sounded close.
Sorry, I didn't mean to derail us. I was just feeling compelled to ask how you guys are doing.
I'm doing well. What's it say at the bottom? What's it say on the bottom of my cup?
Art? It's upside down, so it's hard.
Here, do this.
Yes, but so for those tuning in, yeah, Amor Art.
Thank you.
That's what I told me coaching my son in basketball the other day. You need Amor Art. You need Amor Art.
Amor Art.
So it's my topic.
It is your topic.
It is my topic. And with how we started, I'm starting to feel like I want to change courses, but
But
hey,
It's on you, Jordan.
no, I'm not going to change courses. I'm gonna stick to this, and we'll see where it goes. But this was kind of what you brought up last week. For those that are avid listeners and watchers of this podcast, you know that Evan had a topic, but then we went off on a different topic, which is par for the course. That when you're doing stuff with Evan, especially.
You just never know.
And when you're like me and Meg, and you just sometimes say, "Well, all right, let's see where this train goes," you can have a great time in life.
We're along for the ride.
Yeah, it gets weird.
But we're talking vCISO, so this is a CvCISO podcast, right? So
Yes.
Sometimes we talk about a variety of things that can apply to the vCISO life. Today we're thinking, let's maybe get specific. Let's talk vCISO. What is a vCISO? How does it look? What do you do? What do people think of vCISO?
And yeah, what is a vCISO?
I think the general impression is that it's an entrepreneur that builds a consulting business. I think that's what people equate it with.
Right.
That's my opinion.
Your opinion matters.
Thank you.
And you agree with that take on it then? Is that how you would think it?
Me? Talking to me?
I'm talking to whoever talks next.
You talking to me?
Whoever feels like answering that question.
You talking to me? You told me
I was talking to Meg. You did it.
I don't even know what the question was.
Do you agree with that? You said you think most people think it's that. You think that it's a entrepreneur starting a consulting business.
I think that's the
Is that how
general.
you would?
Just based on getting to know the community, it seems like a lot of them, that's why they're there. Maybe they're in an IT role right now, but they have aspirations to start their own business. But then it seems like they really learn through the course how it applies to what they're doing right now, and that maybe consulting isn't their path.
Yeah, I appreciate that perspective. Jordan.
I do too.
Okay. You have appreciation here.
We've solved it. I think we all agree. I think the podcast is over. We know what it is now.
This is awesome because I don't know if you can tell, I'm a little bit run down. I'm going back to bed.
So, but although I will bring up that if you go to vCISO.com,
What?
do you own that domain? Who
On
owns
the
that
inter-
domain? Someone
on the
bought
in-
vCISO.com. They
on
must
the
know
internet?
vCISO.
I wonder
the-
if that's Greg.
No, no way. No way.
In this case, vCISO, Virtual CISO as a Service. We partner with small and mid-sized businesses, SMBs. Provides. There's a grammatical error on the front page. If whoever owns the site, if they're watching this, you probably want to put your best foot forward on your homepage. So,
Yeah.
it provides bespoke solutions to secure your digital assets, protect sensitive information, and maintain compliance with industry regulations. Gain advantages of an in-house CISO for fraction of it.
Provides bespoke. I likes the bespoke. Yeah.
I'm not trying to knock this site if so don't come
No.
at me.
No.
What?
No. You cannot knock my site. You.
That does not say anything about entrepreneurs providing consultation, does it?
It's true.
Okay. Here's one thing I will point out as like you scroll down the bottom of that page and it says satisfaction 100% guaranteed. That pisses.
There's no space between satisfaction and 100%.
Fighting words for Evan.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I don't know who owns this site, but it's funny. I mean, I'm not going to rip on it either. It's not going to help. It's I do enough of that already.
I mean, I bring it up because it's yet another one of those things where definitions matter. Like we're not all in agreement on what certain things are, right?
Yeah. Go to the pricing page.
Okay.
So how in the world can you spec out pricing
I don't see the pricing
without
page.
any scoping on the top?
Oh.
Unlimited dedicated vCISO support. Full access to the vCISO. Interesting.
It is interesting. Well, they will make Mr. Chase Miller. He will make plenty of money with this URL. That's the founder, CEO of this site. Yeah.
He snatched
So
up.
anyway, snatch
He
it up.
does at the bottom of the homepage identify his services.
Okay, cool. So vCISO.
Well, and this is where, for anyone that's taken the course, this is one of the many things I love about you, Evan, is your ability to simplify things. And you talk about doing that all the time. So it makes it easier. It makes it easier for people to kind of unite. And while many people can define things differently, and you're free to kind of define things how you want, I suppose it's nice. It's refreshing when we come together and it's kind of like, well, what is a vCISO? What do they do? They consult the business to make risk decisions and then implement those decisions. Like that's just a simple definition of what, I don't know if you'd say that's what a vCISO is, but it is what you're supposed to do, like is what you do. And that's just simple enough. Like that's enough for me.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. I mean, there's so much confusion and it doesn't, within our industry, there's plenty of confusion, but I can only imagine, what it's like for somebody who's, a small business owner. It's confusing enough with all the acronyms we throw around and all the technologies and all the whatevers and what have it's. And so you just need to agree as an industry, like this is what a vCISO does. And the fact that when you Google what is a vCISO, or you ask ChatGPT, what is a vCISO, you just get so many different answers. I think there's alignment there's some central themes in all that. Because if you Google it, it says vCISOs help organizations identify security risks, develop security strategies, implement policies, ensure compliance, and respond to breach or incidents. They offer a flexible and cost-effective way for companies to access high-level security expertise without the need for a full-time executive hire. So I don't disagree with this. Seems like when I asked ChatGPT what is a vCISO, I like the definition, and I don't tear that definition apart. I just think we can simplify that. I don't normally, when I talk to people who are non-security people, I normally don't get enough time to answer this question. Like, what if they ask me what is a vCISO? I normally don't have enough time to go to read, to regurgitate 2 paragraphs of information back. They tune out after the first sentence or 2. So, and I did this as kind of a test because I had a whole bunch of CISOs, friends, and, I've asked them what they do. And I still do, and then I say, don't explain it like you're talking to me, like you're talking to a security guy. Explain it like you're talking to my wife, your wife. And so whatever, if you're going to be a vCISO, I think, or you might want to be a vCISO, or you're hiring a vCISO, you have to understand them. So whoever you're engaging with, it's really important that they understand what you're saying and they understand the value and the benefit from working with you. That's why when I look at, this vCISO.com and the 100% satisfaction guaranteed, that's why it kind of torques me. It's like, it's too salesy, right? This is about a relationship with your customer. This is about you understanding their business. It's about you aligning information security with their business, ideally helping them make more money. It's not all about, preventing loss. And so in order to do that, in that relationship, you're consulting them to make good decisions based on what I know about information security. And then we'll implement those decisions. I don't include the word, I don't include compliance. I mean, compliance is inherently in that, because when you talk about information security risk, you could make the case that if I'm not compliant with something, there's a risk, right? So yeah, it's, and I would change, that definition seems to fit with most of the definitions I've seen. But if somebody were to argue, no, that's not what it is, I would be open enough to entertain that discussion. There's just, nobody's.
Yeah. It feels like, just like every other word, like it's like becoming a buzzword, but sometimes I feel like it's a buzzword in our industry. Like, does a normal small business walk around saying, I need a vCISO, vCISO, I wonder what a vCISO, like, I feel like we talk about it, we offer it, but the 10-person small business down the road, they just want help with security, probably. And then, okay, what do you call it? Okay, we'll call it that, I guess.
Don't you think that's changing, though, with as the awareness gets bigger and bigger?
Probably, but are we stuffing it in their face? Just like zero trust and everything? Like, we
Right.
say it, so now they're like, oh yeah, I guess that's what I need.
I'm going to ask ChatGPT, what does an SMB think a vCISO is? I don't know. It's a lot of words.
It's still talking?
Yeah, it's a lot of words. Yeah. Well,
So,
I don't know. It goes, part of my thought there was that, to your point, I go back to thinking, what is a vCISO? Well, it's whatever you agree it's to be with your client. Like, you're talking with someone and they say, I need help with this. You say, okay, I can deliver that. And that's what I am to you. No, right?
last night in class, somebody brought up the infamous, the tool being a compliance tool. And I think that's a big misunderstanding in the industry. So I tried explaining to him the difference between compliance management and risk management, and that within the compliance structure, it requires a risk assessment.
Right.
And that becomes the compliant piece, regardless if you're using NIST or CIS or ISO 27001.
Yeah, it's really frustrating. It's really frustrating that, people don't take the words they use, seriously. It just leads to more and more confusion, right? Information security, and we're clear in the class and clear everywhere we go that information security and compliance are not the same thing. They're just not. You can marry them up, because compliance is just, doing what you've been told to do. Going back to when my wife tells me what to do, I could be compliant, or I could deal with the sanctions of non-compliance. But that's also compliant, right? Information security compliance is just doing what some regulatory body, somebody who's in authority, tells you need to do with information security. And we explain the difference. There's the letter of the law and the intent of the law. In most compliance and regulations, the intent of the law is correct, right? It's risk management. That's what information security is. But the letter of the law doesn't, it leaves all kinds of gaps. right? You can never fully address somebody's intent with words, you just can't. There's more to it, right? So information security is risk management. Compliance is doing what you've been told to do. It's that simple. So you could use our platform to be compliant, but why the hell would you do that? Why wouldn't you do it to manage risk, knowing that in almost all the compliance regulations, the intent is risk management. And so if you use the platform as a risk management tool, you're actually probably closer regulatory compliance than somebody who just followed the checklist. And we've seen that numerous times over the years where, a regulator or an auditor will ask about a specific control. Do you have this or that? And the customer, knowing that being that they understand information security and they understand risk management, they can say, no, we don't have that. And this is the reason why. We've got mitigating controls in place that, so you take we went through this with Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo, the OCC, that's their primary regulator at the Office of Comptroller and Currency. And they use Wells Fargo as kind of a piñata sometimes. And so they were all about database encryption. 1 year, this is like 2008, 9. It was all about database encryption. And so they forced Wells Fargo to go and ask all their third parties, in their third party information security risk management piece to ask them about whether they have database encryption or not. And, we started to do that. And then it was like, what about mitigating controls, right? Database encryption is primarily there to protect against a lost or stolen drive, right? A disk. So if I have really solid physical controls, right? This is in a physically secure, data center with, what you'd expect normally, for physical security. And we've got super tight data sanitization or destruction practices that are fully auditable. Would that suffice for the lack of database encryption? And yes, it would. So then, because that's just an example of, you tell me I need to have database encryption. However, I've got these other controls in place. Why would I waste money on this, insignificant risk, really, because I've already mitigated it? Well, if you go purely the compliance route, you would do it anyway.
Right.
And so it easily distracts you from doing more important, more significant risk work when you're doing compliance stuff.
Yeah, I think there's generally a feeling, maybe from people that are heavy compliance people, or maybe companies that do a lot of compliance stuff. I feel like it is kind of this idea that, okay, well, yeah, but if I'm compliant, I have some reasonable assumption that I'm lowering risk by just doing the things that they tell me to do. What do you think about that mindset? I mean, you're not managing it, so you're not kind of intentionally thinking through it. But is there a reasonable assumption that if you do all the check boxes, you've lowered your risk some?
Yeah. Yeah, you probably have lowered your risk some. But if you were to take an ROI on risk, so let's say just 1 to 10, and so you move the risk from 8 to 7 at a more significant cost than moving it from 8 to 5 had you done security, risk management.
That's the thing right there. Yeah.
And then another, things you see with just in general for people who don't understand something and have been told to do something is they're focused on the wrong thing. So you're focused on what somebody told you to do, and then you think, oh, I'm all good. As soon as somebody who told you what to do says, okay, you passed, the audit was successful, or here's a few findings, fix these things, and you're good, it distracts you from the ongoing nature of information security. You can't capitalize really on any of the advantages of information security. You can from a compliance perspective, meaning efficiencies, right? Streamlining things, making things less complex. It's much more difficult when you're focused on compliance. And then you have the mentality of, because this is what you get all the time, it's what's the quickest, cheapest way I can get compliant? Other than, what about the right way? Right? It just reinforces this shortcut mentality, which information security, will never fit there. So there's lots of reasons why, you obviously have to be compliant, but it's not the whole picture, right? There's a lot more to the story.
And that's where, like some of those golden nuggets, I hope people picked up on those, because it's like in this discussion, what is the value of a vCISO? Well, if you're shifting the conversation to that, that's what's valuable to your client, is making sure that they're not wasting money, making sure that they're understanding what their most significant risk actually is, not just checking all the boxes and you still don't know, well, what is my actual most significant risk that has the highest, impact to me. You don't get that from compliance.
No, you don't. And it's crazy how many people think they need to be compliant with something when you don't need to be compliant with it. You're seeing a lot of that with NIST SP 800-171 and CMMC compliance. Well, we need to be CMMC compliant. Like, do you? Like, what business do you do with the Department of Defense?
Right.
Well, none. Well, then, no, you don't need to be CMMC compliant. This is a great opportunity for you to take this hype, that you've got and apply it to information security risk management. So when a compliance thing does come, you're going to be in a better shape for it. But and even CMMC compliance. So CMMC, there's a lot of M's in there. CMMCs. CMMC is, if you were going to be CMMC compliant, same with PCI compliance, the first thing you do is you try to narrow scope, right? So you have your organization, the entire organization, and the first thing I want to do to be compliant is narrow scope. So isolate the systems that do credit card processing. Isolate the systems that are involved in providing some manufacturing or something for the Department of Defense. That's step one, almost. It's early in the process, because then I only have to be compliant in this little compartment of my greater business, right? Because it's costly for me to put all those controls in place, right? It would make zero sense for me to do it across the entire organization. And so you isolate, so the scope of your CMMC compliance is this little part of your business. It's this one network, a couple of networks, whatever. Meanwhile, the rest of the business just continues to operate as normal, right? And so you've got part of business compliant, part of it is like security chaos, whatever shit they've always been doing. Whereas information, if you're going to take an information security approach, information security risk management would encompass all of it. There wouldn't be any waste. It wouldn't be unusual or and the entire business would, and you would still, put additional controls on that part that's CMMC compliant, but I wouldn't lose sight of the rest of the business. Compliance really easily leads to complacency. It also leads to this false sense of security. Like, oh, we're compliant. Because we've gotten that in incident responses a lot. Well, we're PCI compliant. No. Maybe you were, but yeah, it didn't help you.
Are they? Most of the people that reach out to me for PCI compliance is like, you're not doing this.
Right. Well, and what you'll find is, unsavory truth about PCI compliance is you think you're compliant and then you have a breach that automatically nullified your compliance. So you're in the mind of DSS and everybody else. You're not. You're not compliant.
I think the role is really multifaceted.
Well,
We've talked now about the compliance piece, but it also supports and helps develop security and awareness training for the organization and incident response planning. There's just a lot of different facets that
Yeah.
maybe one doesn't need the security and awareness training. They're good with that. But their next step is incident response planning and support. And so then that becomes their focus for a period of time.
Yeah. Well, people, I mean, think of like in your own world, we try to make sense of things. In order for us to make sense, and that's why people say, I have to get my head around it. That head around it thing comes from compartmentalization. It's putting something into boundaries, into a bucket, into a box, right? Now I can get my head around it. Now I can, okay, I know where it fits. And so people are always trying to put information security into a box, into a bucket. The problem is information security doesn't go into a box or a bucket. It goes into all of your boxes and all of your buckets. And so when you start looking at information security that way, then you start seeing how it's nothing to do with compliance. And even the risk management side of things, like you do risk management every day. I do it every day, right? When I get out of bed, when I get in the car, when I decide, if I'm going to run that red light or or that yellow light, or if I'm going to stop. I mean, you're making these risk decisions all the time and they come natural to you. The information security, you can, I think, eventually get to a point where your information security, because it's in all your buckets, right? That risk management that you do normally in your own life, you just need to integrate information security with those things, right? So before I'm going to use a new technology, before I'm going to log into a new website, before I'm going to click that link in my email, before, all these things, you just make those same risk decisions. Like I do, like I would if I'm driving a car. So at the beginning, it feels very mechanical because you're learning new things. Like, oh, I didn't think about that. I didn't see it from that angle. When I, chose that new account, online, I didn't see it that way. And so it's like this training piece. And then eventually you get to a point where it comes natural to you. You won't do that if you do the compliance route.
Yeah.
And so eventually, so that chasm between compliance and information security, actually, it seems like it just continues to get wider and wider. So if you go the compliance route and you're building your business and running your business on the compliance route, it's going to be harder and harder down the road for you to move to the risk management side, which is the long term. It is the intent. It is, it's the right way to do things. So you're sacrificing long-term success for short-term gain when you do compliance.
Do you feel, Evan, like you've had success, and I'm thinking about it from when you're talking to a business owner or a CEO or whoever, people I contact are probably much smaller companies than you've dealt with in your career, but like
I dealt with a 3-person bank once.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're talking, so does this resonate with them? Like, have you felt like when, especially at a company that is heavily regulated, do you find that when you're preaching this to the business owner or the CEO, whoever, that they're saying, yeah, that sounds better. I'd rather do the risk management thing. Or do they still kind of think, man, buddy, I just want to be compliant?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it all comes down to the relationship, So I have talked to really small business owners because the same things apply at home. You know what I mean? I'm the CEO of my home. You know what I mean? You can apply it like, CEO of the business, CEO at home. It's just not a business. We're not in business. You know what I mean? But it's the same kind of structure, that sort of fits, right? Somebody's got to make the damn decisions around here. Somebody's got to be ultimately accountable for the shit that goes on around here. So, so that's if you look at it that way too, like I'm making these decisions. I don't have people telling me what to do. I'm being responsible. That's what it comes down to. It's being responsible. So in a small to mid-sized business, it's let's be responsible and be compliant, right? Because regardless of where compliance goes, you can be at the beck and call of whatever the auditor compliance thing, EDMA jobbers, and it may not make any sense for your business. You may be pissing away a whole bunch of money, whereas you could just learn to be responsible with information security. I mean, that's probably a good thing regardless of anything else, right? You're responsible, I would think, with other things. So, but it comes down to the relationship, I think. Some small to mid-sized business, you try to figure out what's going on in their mind. and then try to fit information or put parts of information security into those buckets, because it's truly in all the buckets. Physical security, we have to have rules around here. I mean, we don't just, my daughter's not allowed to just surf pornographic websites on my stuff. You know what I mean? It's like, there's got to be rules. And obviously physical security is probably a pretty big deal, but you got to take into account, I mean, it's just, if you want to be responsible and grow like a really awesome, long-term successful business, or you just want to do what people tell you to do all the time? What kind of leader is that anyway? Like, I lead by people telling me what to do all the time. Good luck.
It's my understanding that the risk assessment is really built out of compliance standards.
No, sort of. No. So, and then that's a great question, Meg. That it really is, because I think lots of people think that. I think the majority actually probably think that. So your compliance, there's no real compliance standard. I mean, NIST maybe. There's compliance requirements, which are regulatory requirements that you have to meet, right? Now, sometimes those regulatory requirements from that they'll create a standard, like NIST SP 800-171 would be probably the most. FISMA is another one, Federal Information Security stuff. That usually applies just to government regulations. From that came NIST SP 800-53, as well as some other crap. So the regulatory requirements may drive the creation of a standard, but you could comply with, like, you don't do all the things in the standard to be compliant, if that makes sense. So, like, nobody does all the things that NIST SP 800-53 says to do if you want to still operate. It's too damn prescriptive. That's a beast. But then you've got other things, like people get confused with, okay, so FISMA drew 800-53, not CMMC, but DFARS, which kind of grows into CMMC. I mean, it's confusing as shit. So I don't blame anybody for getting confused with it. So DFARS, CMMC, that's kind of where the 800-171 lives. So the SPs 800, those are standards driven from compliance. Like, if you take HIPAA is another regulatory requirement that, healthcare providers, there is no standard. There's no, direct line like that. And people will say, it's just the way that is. There's also no audits for health, there's only investigations. So if you had a breach, the OCR, which is the Office for Civil Rights, will eventually come to your door. Banking, GLBA, the FFIEC took control of that one. And the FFIEC created their own handbook. So there is no true standard that kind of drove from that. They have a handbook that they audit from, essentially. Banking is super confusing. You've got FFIEC, who's like the overall, and then you've got OCC, the Office of Comptroller and Currency. You've got the FDIC, for different bank charters. So whatever, that's a cluster. PCI is not a government regulatory. That drew PCI DSS. So PCI is probably the one that's the closest. So PCI has the data security standard. So if you want to be compliant, you have to follow that. What else is there? NIST CSF, that's not a standard. That's a framework. There's no compliance or non-compliance with that. I mean, there's a whole list, and it just continues like that. So in some cases, being compliant with a standard will probably make you compliant. In a lot of cases, it's no. So it's, I always use standards as like guidance.
Guideline.
Do you think a vCISO should be well versed in compliance standards and frameworks? And
it depends on your customer. I think it depends on your customer, and it depends on the questions you're fielding in the field. In a lot of cases, a lot of times you won't get asked these things like that because the person who's asking doesn't know either. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you need to correct things. Like, we do have some, there's a Security Studio partner where I was talking, and they're a large partner, and we were talking about, tell me how you base your vCISO work. And they were basing it off of 800-171. And I was like, why? Well, because, and it's funny because when you ask why, they almost like, what are you, stupid? I mean, it's 800-171. I know what it is. I know what it is, man. But I'm more like, why does it make sense for your customers to do that? In the small to mid-size business market, which is the largest market for vCISOs, no, you don't have to be an expert in compliance-y things. But you also need to be honest enough with yourself and your customers to understand that I don't know it. And so maybe I'll need to leverage the community, for some questions, or maybe I'll need to do some of my own research. And maybe the feedback loop into the academy. Maybe we should create a course specific to compliance and frameworks. So that's a good question.
Or, I know that in the tool, and, there's at least making it really easy to do information security better, focusing on risk management stuff, and also making it really easy for people to check the box, and pull that information from the assessment. I know you guys have some of those mappings and stuff and reports that can come from that, but for sure because it does seem like compliance is never going away. And sometimes when you're having the conversation the way you want to have the conversation and trying to focus it more on risk management, at least in my experience, it's been challenging to get it to make sure that, because they're thinking about it black and white compliance check boxes. I just need to pass that audit, and I'm doing it this way, so then they don't always see the connection. So so I like that idea of having some sort of compliance, education and pieces as a part of the tool and the sort of community.
Yeah, absolutely. I always think of like, because you get, in enough incident responses, you get well, I didn't know that, or you get, but we're PCI compliant. How could that happen? And it's like you almost become like this robot where if nobody told me to do it, then I don't do it. You know what I mean? And so it's like, you shouldn't need somebody to tell you to do the right thing. If you don't know what the right thing is, then you should learn what the right thing is. Right. Mm-hmm. And then when somebody tells you to do it, it's like, I'm already doing it, because I learned to do the right thing. And so that's a lot of the long-term success. And I use the analogy of like when, I have 5 kids, and I actually had one, maybe the second one too, who liked to clean their room. The other ones were forced to be compliant. You must clean your room. And so when you looked at the results of the labor, the room of the child that wanted to clean the room was exceptional. It's so much better than the other one where they were hiding stuff, right? So what it reinforced for me as a parent was compliance was actually reinforcing some really bad behaviors. It was endorsing, creating the behaviors of what's the quickest way to get compliant with my father's request to clean my room, and taking shortcuts is okay. He never looks under the bed. Well, that's where I'll put all my clothes. He never looks behind the dresser. That's where I'll hide some other things. You know what I mean? So the intent was for you to clean your room, but the compliance, not only did it create a room that wasn't as clean as the room where the person wanted to do the right thing, but it's also, it's lying, right? It's cheating. It's, deceiving, cheating, shortcuts, not quality work. I mean, is that the kind of business you want to run? Because that's kind of what happens.
You're absolutely right. It makes me think of like, MSPs, because, I'm with an MSP, and I'm always willing to throw the industry under the bus periodically because MSPs often do things wrong, and we do things wrong. There's things that we do. I'm just like, I don't like doing it that way, but it's how MSPs do it. And like, but it makes me think of, anytime a company is, we put together a suite of security products. And so now we have an offering. And sometimes I just want to vomit in my mouth we have a security bundle of products and we want to sell it to you. But sometimes when we're talking about it, what'll come out is, so this suite of products, so they check the box. And it's like, oh, okay, so let's check the box. And then their brain shuts off. They don't know why they check the box. They don't know if they're great tools at all. They don't know if they're going to be a part of a CrowdStrike fiasco, or anything like. And I think I brought it up during the CrowdStrike thing. Like we had clients call us like when they heard all this buzz, like, do we use that tool? They don't even know what tools they use. We didn't use CrowdStrike, but it's kind of like, and so that's what I don't like about it. Like when we actually sometimes are using compliance as a sales pitch, like it does seem, it's like I don't even know how to phrase it, but I don't like it. It's like it's just like the room analogy. It's like when their brain is thinking checks the box and it shuts off, so they're not actually even understanding what they're doing.
Right.
That's not what you want.
No, it's a dangerous behavior, honestly. Because if you continue to reinforce those behaviors of, hey, gets us by, you know what I mean? It's, we've never been non-compliant. You lack the situational awareness. You lack the motivation to do things the right way because you want to do the right things. Why would it? And for me, I've always been kind of a rebel, renegade-ish kind of guy anyway. I don't want people telling me what to do. I don't. I think it makes me a terrible leader if I'm waiting for people to tell me. I mean, other than the tactical things, that I forget all the time. I'm not talking the day-to-day things. I'm talking about direction things. I'm talking about, setting structures and, for us to, it's frustrating. It really is frustrating because you can see where it ends up eventually.
And it's freeing to think if we're bringing this all back home, the vCISO, when their role is to consult the business to make great risk decisions, there's freedom there. Like your job is to discuss, educate, talk, consult, give thoughts. But then you let go and you say, so what's your decision? I've told you about these things. I've shown you the results and stuff. Like, to me, that's freeing. It's freeing for the vCISO because you kind of are like, okay, I've done my best to give you all the information, but now it's you. Now it's up to you to do it, and I'll, and it should be freeing for them too. You're not telling them what to do. You're helping them understand.
Yeah. I mean, it's empowering them. And hopefully putting them in a position where not, you make your risk decision. Let's say it's the wrong decision, right? You realize that the world didn't end. You know what I mean? We all make wrong decisions, right? You play it to your, the analogy of the things you do in your life, right? We just try to make less wrong decisions as we continue down the path. And that fits with that fits much better with the variability that you find in business and in life versus the structured black and white compliance path. It just doesn't flex with that.
Yeah.
Is this statement true that risk assessments go deeper and compliance is more like may go wider, but it's only an inch deep?
No. I mean, it depends. It depends on the structure, and it's a different focus. I mean, they're not even
comparable.
Because you can go really deep on compliance. You can ask, very specific, minutia type questions, or you could ask a really broad, spectrum for compliance. I think compliance is focused on compliance. It's focused on the regulations, focused on whoever the person in authority or the group in authority mandated that you do. So I can go deep and go wide. Same with assessments. You can do different information security risk assessments. You start with the broad one, that's typically, that's why the platform is built the way it is start with a broad information security risk assessment across the entire organization and no, it's not going deep. because what it's providing you is perspective. The worst decisions you'll make from an information security leadership standpoint are the ones with poor perspective. You didn't understand how this piece fit with the other pieces. You thought that this was the most significant risk that you had, but you didn't consider all these other ones that are over here.
Mhm.
So, that's why it's, if you've never done an information security risk assessment in an organization, you start wide, don't go deep. And then from that wideness, you'll identify the places you want to go deep, right? So if let's say part of your information security risk assessment is, it's all these things, but part of it is incident response, right? And that part of the assessment, you scored like rock star, like really, really well. All right, well then go deep. Let's see how far down this thing goes for being, because we just hit the surface, right? Looks
Yeah.
good from here. Let's drill into it.
Is that our leveling of is that like level 1 is the really wide assessment, and then level 2 gets deeper?
No. You are having good questions today, by the way, Meg.
Deeper.
No, I love these. I love these
Not
questions.
right on them, but hey, I'm asking the questions.
No, and you should. I mean, I wish more people ask more questions, to be honest. I don't view it, and none of us as security professionals should ever view it as being, who should welcome them. I've been in this industry for 30 some odd years, and I want people to engage. I want people to ask questions. I want people to challenge. I want you to call me out if I'm wrong. Because why would you let me continue to walk around with this piece of food in my beard for 4 hours? You know what I mean? You need to help. We need to help each other.
So everything, if I could just say, compliance is boring. No, who wants a boring life to do the box? Like risk management. Well, I mean, it's not a Metallica concert, but it's more exciting. It's like, and people got into business. You're working with business owners and stuff. They got into business because, in part, because it's exciting to build a business and do what you love and build teams and accomplish these goals. Like,
Dude, that's such a good observation, because you're right. A lot of people start their small to mid-size, start their business because they're tired of working for the man. They want to be the man or be the woman or be the whatever, right? I want to be the boss. And so I want to be the boss. And then I'm not going to do the right thing until somebody tells me what to do. It's like, no. You're back to doing the man thing. Get out here.
Yeah. And the man is more than willing to come in and be the man again.
Yeah, right? I mean,
or realize that they really aren't the man.
Yeah. Empower yourself to make, as a small to mid-sized business owner or any business owner, any business leader, you should really empower yourself into understanding how security impacts your business, how it impacts your life. It's not like, I mean, if you continue to choose to make shitty risk decisions, it's fine with me. It's your business. I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm here to I don't want you to ruin yourself, but go ahead. I mean, if you're hell bent on it. And
I love when you bring in the analogy of the home too. I really love that. And we should talk more about that more often, because it really connects the dots. Like your most precious assets are in your house. And are you teaching them to just check a box? Are you teaching them, do you want your kid to leave just being a check box or a box checker?
Yeah.
Or do you want them to be someone who understands risks and makes great decisions? Like, come on.
Right. Do you remember, were you around? Yeah. Do you remember where you were on September 11th, 2001? So I was thinking about September 11th, or September. Yeah, it was September. I was thinking about 9/11, because we just had another anniversary of that, just a couple of weeks ago. And I was trying to think of how much have things changed from pre 9/11 to post now, to where we're at today.
Mm.
And man, things have changed a lot. A lot of civil liberties that back prior to 9/11, if I would have told you need to give up these civil liberties, you would have probably strung me up. I mean, you would have shot me, and you're crazy. But what happens is people they just make these, at the time, seemingly inconsequential compromises. There's a little compromise, whatever, little bit. And then over a long period of time, you find that you're so far off the path that you started on, And that's the thing about when you give somebody else the power to make the decisions for you, that's what happens. You end up giving up things and you don't realize it, but you look pre that and the freedoms that you had and where you're at today. The same thing happens with information security compliance. A little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. Now, if you become empowered to actually understand how information security works, you can still satisfy what somebody is telling you to do, but do it in your own way versus the, just check the box. And Meg, to your question, I didn't forget about it. The level 1, level 2, level 3, that's more about fitting the same assessment to the size and maturity of the organization. So a level 1 would be more for a smaller business, whereas a level 3 would scale, even to an enterprise organization. They're all the same level of depth. So
what if a mid-sized business doesn't have, they're really immature in their information security program? Would they do a level 1?
Yeah, after you steal their wallet and run out the door. Wait, did I say that? Oh, we're recording. My bad. Take that back. Yes. When in doubt, start level 1. When in doubt, it's level 1. All the things that are in level 1 translate into level 2. So you're not going to be redoing any work. So if you ever question, where should I start? Start level 1.
Yeah. I think when I first started with the S2 tool, that was kind of like, I tried to sell it more as like a roadmap, we'll start with you with level 1 this year, go through that, then next year, the plan is to do level 2 and, depending on the size, and I always felt like starting with level 1. Some of that was my own, still trying to understand the tool, still trying to understand what I wanted to do with it and all that. But
that's the cool thing too, is learning the tool with your customer.
Yeah.
We seem to lose, not just people in general seem to lose the value in the relationship. This is a relationship business. It's not a transactional business. If you want a long-term customer where you're serving their best interests, and obviously they're paying you, but it's mission before money. I'm serving your best interests, and that's why you're paying me. That's why you're paying me. That's why I keep coming back here. And so when you start level 1 and slowly make progress into level 2, the pace that you're doing that is really important for that customer. Because like I said, we're trying to teach them risk management, and you have to go at their pace. Some people pick it up really fast, go, okay, tell me all of this, Others, it's like, no, I've got a business to run, and you just want them to make progress. Today we're a kindergartner. Next year we'll be in first grade. It'll be awesome. Then we'll go into second grade and we'll learn how to do mathy things, maybe. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. And that's all defensible, as opposed to here's the Harvard doctorate graduate program, curriculum. Do it. What the hell? No, I don't know how to do that. So you always have to meet them where they're at. And they might be, they might be high schoolers, ready for level 2. It's just, and so you just go at their own pace. And from a defensibility standpoint, they're defensible. There's a breach. Oh my God, lawsuits. We were doing what a prudent person does. We started here and we started making, these adjustments, and we were on this path of continual risk management. Where's the fault in it? There isn't. Unless it was just like willful negligence.
Unless they didn't have any MFNA.
MFNA. Or, if you don't have CrowdStrike, you're going to jail.
Your insurance premiums are going sky high.
Yeah. Well, we should talk about my next podcast, I want to talk about the difference in making decisions emotionally and logically.
I love it.
Because that'll be pretty interesting. Meg, is it yours next week?
It's mine next week. Yep.
Meg?
Yeah.
Meg, you're a good person.
Thanks, Evan. So are you.
I dig you, as does Jordan. If Jordan if Jordan doesn't say he digs you,
I dig you.
I dig you too. Thank you for being my friend.
Dig it.
Right. Well, I guess that's a wrap, right? I mean, are we good?
Gotta be. I mean, we can't do a 2-hour podcast, can we?
I did one last night. I did one last night with Mike Kennedy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was 2 hours, but it was awesome.
Good.
All right. Well, that's a wrap. We'll see you next week. It'll be Meg's episode.
That's right.
All right. Have a great weekend.
See you, vCISOs.
Bye.